Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from Am I the A-Hole? Story 1 is by OwnPlant473. Am I the a-hole for sending away the girl who came to clean my house because she ate my cake? I'm a 24 male and I'm married to my husband, 28, and we have one daughter together who's 4, Alea. We both work a lot and I also work from home often. I need cleaning, so last week I called an agency and they sent a girl over to clean the house and we agreed on $40 an hour. Let's call her Ava. So Ava, who's around 19 or 20 years old, arrives at my house with her little sister, who's 8. I asked her why her little sister was here and she said she had no one else to leave her with. I wasn't very pleased but assumed she didn't have a choice and didn't say anything. I showed Eva the playroom of my daughter and said it was to be cleaned as well, and her sister started staring around the room, touching all the toys. I again didn't say anything. Eva started working and I went to my room to get ready to pick up a cake for Alea and to pick Alea up from school. I heard a noise in Alea's playroom, so I rushed over and saw Eva's sister playing in the room, and she broke a glass bowl that I had custom made for Alea when she was born. At this point, I was annoyed, but again I held myself and told Ava to clean it up and keep an eye on her sister. I went out, picked up Alea's favorite cake with strawberries. It was a cake that had strawberries on only one side on the top, and on that same side there were more decorations, etc. I put it in the fridge and left again to pick up Alea. When we walked in the kitchen, I saw Ava's sister eating a big piece of the cake in exactly the part with the strawberries and more decorations. I have never had an issue like this before. In fact, the cleaning ladies never open my fridge or anything because they have no business there. I asked Ava what she thought she was doing, and she told me, "My sister was sad and really wanted cake, so I figured she could have a piece." Alea started crying because she had been looking forward to her cake with strawberries, and now the piece with strawberries were gone. I told Ava that it's not her place to figure whether her sister could eat something from my fridge without asking me. She could have waited for me to get back because I told her I would be back. I told her that even if she did do this, she should not have taken the whole decorated piece because she could have also figured that this cake was meant for my daughter. Ava said that, "You are getting mad for no reason. Just take the money from my pay." I told her that she could pack her stuff and leave with her sister and she didn't have to finish the house cleaning. She had been at the house for only 2 hours, but I paid her $120 and told her to get out. So I told a friend, and she told me that I overreacted over a piece of cake and I should have just understood the little girl. I again said that it's not just cake, but it's rude to open my fridge and take a cake out that's not unboxed yet and eat it. I'm wondering now, am I the a-hole? Why did you pay her at all? She broke something you created for your daughter when she was born that probably took some effort and had value to you. And then she figured her sister could have a piece of this cake that you got for your daughter. Not only a piece of it, but the decorated piece. Uninvited, in your fridge, basically stealing. And what kind of friend do you have that's like, think of the little girl. This person came to your house employed by you to do a job, not to eat your food and break your stuff and have her sister there for daycare. That's absurd and so entitled. You should not have given her a penny. You should have said to her, "Yes, in fact, I will take the money from your pay. I'm not paying you a cent. Get out." That's how it should be. And don't bring your little sister, who is destructive, to somebody's house that you have to clean. Down in the comments by Tati Barbalut. Not the a-hole for sending her away. You're the a-hole for paying her what you did. 1. When the bowl was broken, you should have called the agency and asked if their insurance covered both the person cleaning as well as her sister. If their insurance covered the broken bowl, then you should have immediately filed a claim for the replacement. If not, then the person cleaning is responsible for the replacement cost. Either way, you should have asked her to leave at that point. If the replacement cost was more than what she had earned at that point, then she leaves with no pay. 2. Since you didn't do number 1 and the cake was eaten, you should have deducted the cost of the bowl and the cake from her pay. If it was more than she had earned, then she leaves with no pay and definitely no tip. Then you call the agency and report her. I agree with them completely. You call the agency and report her. People like this that allow that sort of thing to happen, they don't want them working for them. I can promise you that. The OP replied to say, "The bowl was custom made and it was a big one with lights in it and decorated with my favorite flowers." Man, that's loud. Besides that, it also had crystal stones on the bottom, so it was well over what she would have earned in that day. Luckily, the bowl was insured, so I will get a new one. I just figured a 19 or 20-year-old girl who needed the money and wanted to give her a second chance. I'm going to say no to this. She doesn't need chances from somebody who's employing her. She needs to be trained better. She needs to be leaving her sister at home. Underneath that, by Talk Meme to Me, there are giving chances, and then there is rewarding arrogance and entitlement. As a person who once had to clean homes, it's clear to me she frankly did not respect you or your home. I hope she at least cleaned well, but I have an inkling she did not. Definitely report her, and you should not have paid her. She didn't deserve it. The fact that she argued with you and said you're making a big deal of nothing when she literally had her little sister eating your cake, your untouched, boxed cake in the fridge. It's frankly unbelievable. Our next story is by Daydream Diva. Am I the a-hole for refusing to lend my designer purse to my sister-in-law for her wedding? I'm a 24 female and I have a Chanel purse that was a gift from my parents when I graduated college. It's by far the most expensive thing I own. My brother recently got married and his new wife Amy asked if she could borrow my Chanel purse for their wedding day photos and reception. Amy doesn't own any designer bags and really wanted one to complete her wedding look. I politely declined to lend her my purse. That purse is extremely valuable to me and the thought of something happening to it makes me anxious. Amy called me selfish and materialistic for not lending it to her for the wedding. She said I was more concerned about a status symbol than helping family. My parents and brother also got upset with me, saying I should be willing to share my things with my family, but I don't think I should have to hand over my most prized possession just because it's for a wedding. Now the whole family is angry with me. Am I the a-hole for not lending my sister-in-law my expensive designer purse for her wedding? She's acting like I ruined her big day over this, but I think it was an unreasonable request. Two things. It's an unreasonable request for her to be asking for your designer purse and acting like you're materialistic when she's the one that's super materialistic here. And two, expensive purses are such a joke. I'm sorry, but they are. Designer purses aren't worth the money that you pay for them. They just aren't. They 100% aren't. They're absurdly expensive. Down in the comments by Antique Ad, not the a-hole, I find it funny that she called you materialistic for not lending her the purse. Yet she needed that purse to complete her outfit. And the only reason she wanted your purse is because it was expensive and designer. So in other words, she's mad that you wouldn't let her be materialistic with your items. No family does not always lend everything, walking to the house next door and borrowing the TV, borrowing their car for a week. She wanted the purse because it was the nicest thing. She knew that it was close to her and she was going to assume that just because they're family, you would say yes. If it's your stuff, you choose who you lend it to or not want to lend it to. And everyone is wrong. And if your parents are so upset, tell them to buy her one. Our next story today is by Adventurous 18593. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she is being selfish and that she needs to take an Uber since I'm not leaving her older brother's wedding? This has been a built-up issue. My son got married this weekend, and this issue isn't dying, so I'm going here. My daughter has very bad anxiety. She's 19, and I will call her Shelly. Shelly used to go to therapy when she was a minor, but stopped when she turned 18. Ever since then, her anxiety has been out of control, and due to this, she won't drive anymore. She has a license, but refuses to drive. We live in the USA, and driving is basically needed, or it's a big inconvenience for the people around her. Also, she is an adult, so it's not like we can just force her to drive. This is the issue. My son was getting married and she was uncomfortable with so many people around at his wedding. She asked me to take her home. I told her no, and if she's having difficulties, wait in the car. She told me it's freezing outside and she needs to leave. I told her no again, turn on the heat in the car and wait if she needs to be away from people. She doesn't like this answer and told me she will have an attack if she stays and she needs to go home. I told her to take an Uber, then I'm not leaving. She didn't like this and it was turning into a full argument. Shelly told me I need to take her home again, and I had enough. I told Shelly she's being selfish, that she has many options and I will not deprive her brother, my son, of his parents being at his wedding. If I took her home, I would miss his wedding since it was an hour drive here. She called me a jerk and left to stay in the car for a bit. She was back about an hour later for the rest of the wedding. She has been pissed since, and her younger brother is copying her. There are people who have anxiety, and there are children who use anxiety to get their way. I'm not saying that anxiety isn't a real thing, because I'm very close to someone who experiences it, and it just randomly can affect you. You could be anywhere, and it can randomly affect you, and it's debilitating. And you can't just cure it. You can't just fix it. So if this girl really has anxiety, that's a problem, and she may work hard for the rest of her life trying to control it, and she may never be able to, and that sucks. But she also could be using this to manipulate you into doing what she wants, and it sounds like her younger brother copying her definitely is starting to do that. Is it real for her? Maybe. Is it real for the little brother? I don't think so. But you have to make sure she doesn't use her disability just to get her way when she doesn't feel like being somewhere. Down in the comments by Antelope31. Not the a-hole, and thank God you said no. Notice how she was magically able to cope when push came to shove? That tells you a lot. She is used to getting her way, and it's high time she starts living in the real world and takes responsibility for her own life. She needs to stop using anxiety, a perfectly normal emotion, as an excuse not to push herself to learn tools to cope and take responsibility for her own life and future, including seeking therapy if needed. Her emotional manipulation and threats need to lose the power they've had in ages past. Again, not the a-hole. It's called good parenting. She's 19, not 9. I agree with that, and I'm going to have to add that sometimes it's not a normal amount of anxiety that people feel. Sometimes it's not. It is a normal emotion to feel anxiety, but it's not normal for it to be so heightened for some people. But underneath that, by Spirit, yeah, I feel like she wants things to revolve around her, honestly. I have a panic disorder and also don't drive because it makes my anxiety so bad that I think I'm a danger to myself and others on the road. And a wedding could absolutely trigger a panic attack for me, but she has options. The car with heat is a perfectly alone one, but that wasn't good enough for her until she suddenly had no other options. Then it was fine. She was being selfish. I absolutely get where she was coming from and needed to get away, but her expectations on how she would get away were not reasonable. Not the a-hole. Our stories for today have come to a close until we meet again. If you enjoy this content, please click like or subscribe or the little notification bell so you get alerts when new videos drop. You can also leave a comment below. Each of these things helps my channel reach more people in the YouTube algorithm. Until we meet again, have a reasonable day.